The cops are back at it. Not sure why they keep circling my neighborhood, but they do. Very interesting indeed. What do they want from me? Welcome to the party, pal. Your for the neighborhood Master Chaos back with you once again with another dose of movie love. I poured myself a little red wine here, and I thought you and I could have a cozy little chat about cult movies, specifically debating, discussing, deciding what the next big cult movie will be. This is going to be fun. Before we get started, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It lets me know that you're having a good time. It lets YouTube know that you're having a good time. And overall, it's a positive situation. Now, 3 movies have recently dropped on our movie-loving radar. And they're horror movies. And we're going to discuss the benefits, pros and cons of both. And whether one of them stands out above the others when it comes to being the definitive cult hit. Because all 3 of these movies have been pinned as the next cult hit. Is that moniker a sound judgment for those movies, or is it just, critical hyperbole? Let's look into these movies. These are going to be mini reviews of these 3 movies. I'm not going to go into super in-depth reviews. I'm just going to touch on the basic plot and what I thought of them, and then we're going to do the pros and cons towards the end. And I promise you, by the end of this, I am going to declare a winner. I already know who won, by the way. I'm pretty sure my answer is the right answer. But opinions are like assholes. So show me your asshole by leaving a comment down below with your opinion as to what movie you consider the best of the 3. Let's kick it off with a recent addition that people have been talking about on Twitter. Chris Stuckman released a big video on it. And of course, I'm talking about the film The Empty Man. The Empty Man, directed by David Pryor, and not the David Pryor who directed Sledgehammer and Deadly Prey. Not that guy, another guy, a younger guy. Anyway, he adapted a comic from Boom Studios into what is essentially a creepypasta horror movie starring James Badge Dale, who I remember mostly from 24. He was the guy in season 3 who was supposed to essentially take over for Kiefer. At least that was sort of the intention of that season, but it didn't work out, thankfully. Anyway, he's a good actor. He's a solid actor. Here he is channeling his Fincher-esque best. Not only him in his performance, but David Pryor as a director. The movie is very Fincher-like. The movie, as a matter of fact, reminds me of a combination of 8mm, Prisoners with Jake Gyllenhaal, and a little bit of Ninth Gate. What is this movie? It's sort of a lot. I'm talking about a nearly 2.5-hour movie that paints itself as a cosmic horror movie. I don't want to give too much away, and I don't plan to. But the film is essentially a very, very, very slow burn, detail-oriented detective story about this ex-cop who's looking for a missing girl, and the trail that it leads him towards, which may or may not be a satanic cult who's trying to raise a demon. That's the bare sketch of the movie. What star rating would I give The Empty Man? I was going to give it 4 stars. I was. Until I got to the ending. The last 5 minutes of the movie really took a shit on the entire movie. I'm not going to give spoilers away. Maybe down the line, if people are curious, I can talk about spoilers. Maybe I'll do it as a Patreon video. But for me, the ending rewrote everything we had just seen and made it all pointless, stupid, worthless, and beside the point, and even more of a waste of time than it felt as we were going through it. Although I did love the detective stuff. I love the feel of the movie. It was always rainy and gray, and it felt nice. It felt cozy, but the ending undoes everything, and it just, I don't know how, there's no way that makes sense. That ending, there's no way that makes sense. Chris Stuckman says that he's happy this movie exists because as a filmmaker, he can't believe that something like that could actually get made. I agree with that, but I don't think it's cult movie material. However, this is the kind of movie that will develop ardent fans. Absolutely. All these movies are. But this is the kind of like underground, quiet chiller that people will be like, oh shit, have you seen Empty Man? Holy shit. But that ending for me really, really took a shit on the bed. So I'm going to give Empty Man 2 stars. Okay, so that's my thoughts on Empty Man. Let's go to my next movie, Psycho Goreman. For me, Psycho Goreman is the kind of movie that you're always waiting to see. It's the movie you hope to discover whenever you pick up some random horror movie at Walmart. You want it to be this good. Psycho Goreman is a sci-fi horror comedy that is filled with tons of amazing effects, gory gags, great jokes, and honestly a pretty strong through line when it comes to character development, which blows my mind because it's about a little girl who becomes accidentally the master of an invading alien monster and basically makes him her bitch. And it is so good, so well written, and so fun that it's probably the only modern horror movie I've seen in a long time that I would buy and rewatch frequently. I really enjoyed Psycho Goreman. This one gets 5 stars. I think it's a very worthy movie on many levels. Honestly, I have no negative things to say about Psycho Goreman. I enjoyed it overall. I think it's a pretty solid film. Very unique, and I think that's what you need when you're talking about a cult movie. This isn't probably something that would play normally in theaters, and a lot of parents would probably keep their kids away, but that's what makes it so good and so unique and so worthy. So to me, Psycho Goreman is a stellar knockout when it comes to the choice for the next big cult hit. However, we've got one more movie to talk about, and that is Willy's Wonderland. By the way, I always call it Wally's Wonderland. I always have trouble searching it. It's Willy's. It's Willy's. Willy's Wonderland is exactly what you expect it to be. It's a ripoff of Five Nights at Freddy's. And honestly, if this is what Five Nights at Freddy's is basically going to be, then I hope that movie never gets made. Because this was pretty disappointing. But there's choices made in this movie that affect how the movie plays out, affect how an audience views this movie, and maybe, most likely, and hopefully they won't do that with Five Nights at Freddy's. Essentially what you have here is Nicolas Cage is a silent drifter. He doesn't talk through the whole movie, and he goes about murdering these serial killer possessed animatronics at this abandoned, Chuck E. Cheese type place, almost as if he's Superman himself. And I don't understand anything. There's nothing clear about this movie. Where does he come from? Why isn't he scared of these animatronics? Why is he so powerful? And these are the main threat. Why aren't they any kind of a threat to our main guy? It's almost like he's from a different movie who just stumbled into this movie, but also happens to be a superhero. It doesn't make any sense. The whole movie I was wondering, why is he chugging energy drinks? Why does he have to play video games? How is he not scared that these giant creatures are trying to eat him? It doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately for me, all of that superfluous stuff known as backstory was so important. It is so crucial for me to get behind this movie. It's just a whole bunch of nonsense. Almost like a kid wrote it. I hate to put it that way, but that's what it feels like. Willy's Wonderland was very disappointing to me. I'm going to give this one 1 star. I almost gave it no stars. I'm going to give it 1 because I know it's probably a really difficult movie to shoot. And Nicolas Cage does his best. But what the fuck? Where did he come from? Why is he so strong? It's very weird. It's very weird, but not in a good way. Not in a good way like Psycho Goreman.
It's birthday time.
I enjoy a man a few words.
So now it's time to pick one. Let me know in the comments down below which one you've seen and which one you vouch for. All of these movies, all 3 of these movies have been sort of handpicked and sort of chosen to be the next cult hit. Cult hits happen. They just happen. They're forces of nature. They cannot be selected or chosen. Oh, I'm going to make this movie to be a cult hit. You can't do that. The Empty Man has something going for it. It's the only one of these that really played in theaters for like a day or so. It's got a lot of money behind it. Big money behind it. Doesn't have the biggest star, though. That would be Nicolas Cage in Willy's. But what it does have is a really well-made package. It's really well shot. The music is great. The performances are solid. The story is really, really, really engrossing. I mean, it's just a guy investigating. There's a couple jump scares here and there, but it's just essentially a detective movie. Think Prisoners, and you have a good idea. Prisoners meets Slender Man, kind of. It's that kind of movie. It's a good movie. But the ending, the super twist ending where they try to throw everything out the window, you're like, oh, this is what's really going on. It's such a big fuck you to the audience that I feel I'm never gonna rewatch it. As much as I was halfway through, like, this movie feels really good. I love the look of this movie. I would rewatch this. And then I got to the ending and found out all that stuff was pointless. Because I'm not gonna say anything. I don't want to go too far. But all that stuff was a waste of time. Once we know what's really going on. Why is this movie almost 2.5 hours when it didn't need to do that? It did not need to do that. That's disappointing. That hurts me, and I think that'll hurt rewatchability, at least as far as I'm concerned. And rewatchability is what you need for a cult classic. So I'm going to X out Empty Man. Empty Man is gone. No, Empty Man will not be the cult classic as far as I'm concerned. We've got Psycho Goreman, and we've got Willy's Wonderland. Now, I think you know where I'm heading with my decision. Willy's Wonderland has Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is great. Nicolas Cage is crazy. Nicolas Cage makes almost any movie better. If Nicolas Cage wasn't in this movie, we wouldn't be talking about it. We would not be talking about it. Nicolas Cage is in this movie. He is the best part of the movie to a degree. The fact that he doesn't talk and he can't say, witty one-liners like, eat this, fuzzball, like whatever, like, little 80s catchphrasey kind of silly stuff that you can put on a t-shirt. Because he can't do that, the movie feels almost muted. It's almost too serious, if that makes any sense. If he was chewing the scenery and saying crazy lines, then maybe we could get behind it being a memorable experience. But because he's so quiet, he's the stoic, silent, man with no name kind of character, it's almost boring a performance when it comes to Nicolas Cage. The animatronics are great. The kills are, for the most part, good. There's stupid teenagers in it. But if Nicolas Cage, I feel the secret sauce, Nicolas Cage was not allowed to go full Nicolas Cage. If he had gone full Nicolas Cage on these guys and said stupid lines and like done really crazy, I would say if Robert Rodriguez had directed this, this would have been 100% a cult classic. Something like Robert Rodriguez would have, from Dusk Till Dawn, the hell out of this movie. But because I think it's a new director and Nicolas Cage doesn't talk, it feels almost like a TV movie in a weird way. Like, it just feels like muted, like vanilla almost. It's a weird plot, but for me, it doesn't go above and beyond what it needed to be a cult classic. So I'm going to X out Willy's Wonderland as well. So, by de facto, and much earned, by the way, Psycho Goreman to me is the next cult hit. Why? It's rewatchable, number one. Rewatchable. I want to watch it right now. I watched it with Little Master. He loved it, too. It's a great movie. It's a fun movie. It's surprisingly a family movie, if your family likes scary movies like mine does. And it's a movie that will grow with its audience. I can see this being a movie my kids show their kids. Like Goonies, like Monster Squad, like other cult hits, Heathers, you name it. Psycho Goreman has the legs for that. Great effects that I think will not necessarily age badly. A great main performance by the lead actress. Psycho Goreman is a memorable character. I think they're already working on a sequel. So you have already a built-in audience, you have potential franchise, and you have rewatchability. 100% Psycho Goreman is my choice for cult hit of the decade. How about that? We'll go with that. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is there something I should be taking a look at? Is there another movie you think deserves a cult hit status? Please let me know. Remember, this is a two-way conversation. I want to hear your opinion. It matters just as much as mine, if not a little bit more. So that's it. That'll be it for today. I chose Psycho Goreman as my cult hit of the decade. My friend, I love you very much. Thank you for watching. I hope this video has found you happy, healthy, and well. Remember, I love you just the way you are. Your fellow neighborhood master chaos remains inebriated and to be continued.